Hello students, this is Mrs. Shweta Ladha from Ferguson College, Pune. Today we'll start with chapter 3 of Biology, Inheritance and Variation. You might have seen in our families, whenever a new baby is born, the elders will come together and say, "Oh, the eyes is exactly like the mother." Or they will say, "Oh, the color is exactly like her grandmother." Or the height is like the father. Or sometimes they will wonder and say, "Are, why is this baby is having curly hairs and it is not similar to the parents?" So students, what is all this? This is heredity and variations. And in this wonderful chapter, we are going to study why are we similar to our parents or why we are dissimilar from our parents. That is, we are going to discuss about heredity, how it is inherited, and how there are variations created in the offsprings, in the next generations. Also, we will be discussing about certain diseases which are caused due to some changes in the gene. These diseases may be due to some autosomes or maybe due to sex chromosomes. So I'm definitely sure you're going to enjoy learning this chapter, but please see that you're sitting with a notebook and take down every point we are studying, because this chapter is like mathematics. You will be solving along with me all the different points which I am teaching today. PowerPoint presentation. Yes, students. So let us start. Heredity or inheritance. The transmission of genetic information from one generation to other, it is called as heredity or it is called as inheritance. This mechanism was investigated even before chromosomes or genes were discovered. The term genetics was coined by W. Bateson in 1905. It includes heredity and variations. Heredity, we can say similarities, and variations are differences in the offsprings from their parents. Heredity is similarity with the parents and variations are the differences that are shown in the offsprings. Always remember students, when we are talking about the products of sexual reproduction, we use the term offspring, whereas we use the term clones for asexual reproduced organisms. Story of Gregor Johann Mendel. This great man, Gregor Mendel, was the first to give accurate explanation of inheritance by using hybridization technique. He was born on 20th July 1822 in a poor farmer's family in Silesian, a village in Heinzendorf, Austria, which is now a part of Czechoslovakia. So almost 200 years back. He got his early education in a monastery in Brunn of Austria. Monastery is a place where people, they get religious education along with the other education. He was ordinated as a priest of the Augustinian monastery. Then he went to University of Vienna, where he studied mathematics, physics and natural sciences. Later he returned back to Brno and continued to work as a priest as well as teacher in that church, in that monastery. And he started his experiments on pea plant. Before pea plant, he had tried his hand on different organisms. But finally, he was successful when he carried out experiment on pea plant. He is considered as father of genetics. And throughout this chapter, you'll come to know what wonderful and great work Gregor Johann Mendel has done, the father of genetics. Why did Mendel select pea plant for his experiments? Pea plant, it is a bisexual flowering plant. That is, the flower is bisexual, having both the androecium and the gynoecium floral whorl. And thus it can carry out self-fertilization. Pea plants are annual plants, so you can get a crop after every 3 to 4 months. It has sharply defined inherited characters. Cross-pollination also can be achieved by hybridization. Very easy because the flower is showing vexillary estivation. He studied 7 pairs of contrasting characters in the pea flower. Pea flower shows vexillary estivation and diadelphous condition. Diadelphous, it has the stamens are arranged in the pattern of 9 plus 1. 9 stamens, they join to form one bundle and one is separate. So diadelphous condition, vexillary estivation. Emasculation could be easily done. What is emasculation? removal of anthers, cutting off the anthers before anthesis, before maturing, before formation of pollen grains. Mendel studied following traits in pea plant. You can see that he studied 7 pairs, out of which some were dominant, some were recessive traits. First, he studied height. In height, the tall plant was dominant, short was recessive trait. Seed shape, round shape was dominant, wrinkled was recessive. Seed color, yellow was dominant, green was recessive. Seed coat color, green was dominant, white was recessive. Pod shape, inflated pod, the full pod, it was dominant. Constricted or flat pod, it was recessive. Pod color, green color pod, dominant. Yellow colored pod, recessive. Flower position, axial, when the flower is produced in the axis of the leaf, it is dominant, whereas terminal at the apical region, then it is a recessive condition. So he studied these 7 characters, and all the 7 traits, they had a pair of contrasting characters as well. Steps of Mendel's experiment. Mendel was very meticulous, systematic. He carried out all his experiment in these 3 steps. The first step was he always selected pure breeds as parent. How was it possible? He supposed this was his backyard of the church where he planted the pea plant. Suppose he planted all the tall plants and one of the plant in this tall plant was dwarf. What he used to do, he used to remove this, discard the seeds and again plant the tall seeds. This he did for 3 generations, and after 3 generations he was sure that all the seeds were breeding tall, and this he did for all the 7 pairs of characters. Thus he selected pure breeds as parents for all the 7 characters. Then he carried out hybridization between 2 traits, for example between tall and dwarf, or between any 2 contrasting traits, either 1 pair, 2 pairs, 3 pairs of contrasting characters. He carried out hybridization by emasculation. He obtained F1 generation. F1 generation were allowed to self-pollinate. Selfing was done, and then F2 generations were obtained, or further F3 generations, filial 1, filial 2 and filial 3 generations were produced. Not only this, he kept his record systematically using the knowledge of statistics and mathematics. So these are the 3 very important steps of Mendel's experiment: selected pure breed, carried out hybridization and allowed selfing of the F1 generation. Basic terms used in inheritance study. First we'll discuss about gene or factor. When Mendel was working, he did not know about the concept of gene because chromosomes were also not discovered that time. He used the term factor. But we know what is a gene. It is the functional unit of hereditary material. Chemically, it is a segment of DNA, some part of DNA. Mendel called it as factor. What is a gene? Gene is a segment of DNA. Chemical, because we know these are nitrogenous base pairs. Okay, these are segments or parts of DNA. This knowledge you are having, but Mendel did not know about it. He called them as factor. He just knew that this factor is the functional unit of heredity which is passing from one generation to another generation. This term was coined by Johansson, gene concept. What is a character? It is the feature of an organism. When we say height of the stem, color of the skin, shape of the seed, or pattern of your hair, color of your eyes, these are characters. So any feature of an organism is nothing but a character. Trait, inherited character, character which we obtain from our parents, and its detectable variant. And if it is having a detectable variant, for example in pea plant, tallness is a trait, inherited trait. And what is its detectable variant? Dwarfness. So these are nothing but the traits. Or round seeds, wrinkled seeds. So these are the traits. Alleles or allelomorphs. This concept you have to understand properly. I'll take it slowly. I hope you all are taking down the notes. What are alleles or allelomorphs? When I'm talking about allele, student, I'm always talking about a pair of genes located on homologous chromosomes on the same loci. I'll make it simple for you. Allele are 2 or more alternative form of a gene or a factor. They are called as alleles of each other. Now, for example, capital T are homozygous alleles for height, tallness. In simple words, when we are talking about allele, when we are talking about a pair of homologous chromosomes, these are a pair of homologous chromosomes. Okay, if you can see properly, this gene for hair color is located here and the gene for hair color is located here. So what is an allele? Allele is a pair of gene which is located on the homologous chromosomes and at the same loci from the centromere, same distance from the centromere. Thus they are alleles of each other. See here, blood type, it is located here and its allelic pair is located here. So allele are pair of genes which are located on the same loci but on the homologous chromosomes. For example, capital T are homozygous alleles. Capital T from one parent, capital T from other parent. These are a pair of genes which are located on homologous chromosomes on the same loci. This is the allelic pair for tallness. Even it is homozygous because they are similar for tallness. But if the alleles are like this, one is for tallness, one is for shortness or dwarfness, we call it as a heterozygous allele. You'll come to know the term homozygous, heterozygous slowly. Okay, but this is a heterozygous allele. Look at this diagram. A diagram, suppose I call it. It is a pair of chromosome. Okay, this A is representing a gene. This A is representing a gene. They are present on homologous chromosomes on the same loci from the centromere. Look, loci means what? Position, distance from the centromere. And they are representing the same character, capital A, thus it is a homozygous allele. Look at this, capital B, small b, correct? Capital B is for some other, suppose it is for blood group we will say. So capital B, small b. These genes are representing opposite traits, so it is a heterozygous allele. But they are allelic pair because they are located on homologous chromosomes at the same loci from the centromere, isn't it? And hemizygous, sometimes some genes, they are absent on the homozygous chromosome. For example, in case of color blindness, this color blindness gene is present only on the X chromosome and it is absent on the Y chromosome. Thus, as it is present only on the one pair of the chromosome, we call it as hemizygous. So I hope you understood the concept of allele. Allele is a pair of genes which are located on homologous chromosomes on the same loci. What is loci? Distance from the centromere. It is called as an allele. Capital A, alleles of each other. Small t, capital T, alleles of each other. Capital T, alleles of each other. And where they will be located? If these are chromosomes, they are located on the same location, same loci from the centromere. And they are on the homologous chromosomes. So I hope this concept is clear. They occupy the same loci on homologous chromosomes. This term was also coined by Bateson. About alleles or allelomorphs, this concept was coined by Bateson. Let us see about phenotype and genotype. Phenotype can be defined as it is the physical appearance or external appearance of an organism. It is called as the phenotype, whereas the genetic constitution of the organism is called as its genotype. For example, external appearance, when we look at a color, we say green color, yellow color. When we look at the shape, we say round shape of the seed or wrinkled. We say height, tall, dwarf, size, big, small, isn't it? Inflated, constricted. So whatever is appearing, physical appearance or external appearance will be called as its phenotype. And genetic constitution, this height is because of what? Capital T tall or capital T, small t tall. Or if it is short, it is due to small t. This constitution, this genetic makeup, genetic constitution is termed as the genotype. Very important, students. Always remember, P stands for phenotype, P stands for physical appearance. G stands for genotype, G stands for genetic constitution. How it is appearing from outside? Phenotype. How it is made up of, what genes it is consisting of, what allelic pair it is consisting of? Genotype. So I hope these concepts are clear. Phenotype, genotype. Let us now see the concept of homozygous and heterozygous. An individual possessing similar alleles for a particular trait is called as a homozygous or a pure trait. For example, we see a tall plant. So capital T, and its allele is also capital T, tall. So this individual, this pea plant is having similar allele, capital T. For which trait? Height. And they are similar, so it is called as a homozygous or pure trait. They will produce only one type of gamete. Suppose they are producing gametes. Of course, both the gametes will be capital T. So similar, one type of gametes are produced by them. So I gave you the same example for tallness, capital T, they are homozygous and they will be producing only one type of gamete, and that gamete will be capital T. If it is dwarfness, then it is also homozygous because small t is also for dwarfness, another small t is also for dwarfness, and what will be the gametes produced by them? Small t. Thus only one type of gametes are produced by homozygous alleles or traits. Round seed, capital R, they are homozygous and gamete will be produced only capital R. Wrinkled seed, small r, and the trait will be always small r, one type of gamete. Trait will be wrinkled seed. Heterozygous, when an individual possesses dissimilar alleles, capital T, tallness, small t, dwarfness, they are dissimilar alleles for a particular trait. What is the trait here? Height. We are talking about height. And of course, as capital T is dominant, the plant will be tall. But the allelic pair are different from one another. Such type of allelic pair, it is called as a heterozygous or hybrid for the trait height. And now if we talk about the gametes produced, they will produce two types of gametes, capital T, small t. So whenever it is a heterozygous allelic pair, two types of gametes are produced. Whenever it is a homozygous condition, only one type of gametes will be produced. They produce two types of gametes. For example, tall, capital T, small t, it will produce two, capital T, small t. Now let us talk about dominant and recessive characters. Characters that express themselves in heterozygous condition is called as a dominant character. Now, for example, just now we saw capital T, small t. Capital T is representing tallness. Small t actually should represent dwarfness, but when both of them are together, this plant produces tall. So tallness is representing itself even in heterozygous condition. So it is a dominant character. Here capital T is also a tall plant. Capital T, small t in heterozygous condition is also a tall plant. So tallness is dominant over dwarfness. Capital R produces a round seed. And capital R, small r also produces a round seed. So roundness is dominant over wrinkled seeds. So this is dominant. The character which is expressing itself even in heterozygous or homozygous condition, it is a dominant character. But the character that cannot express in heterozygous condition, in this case, capital T, small t, this is tall, this is short. But this dwarfness, shortness is not expressed. So this type of character which is not able to express itself in heterozygous condition and it will express itself only if it is in homozygous condition, such type of allelic pair is called as a recessive allele or recessive character. For example, when it is capital T, small t, plant produces tall. It is not dwarf. But when it is small t, that time the plant produces dwarf. So dwarfness is able to express itself only if it is in a homozygous condition. Thus dwarfness is a recessive character. Second example, capital R, round seed. But small r, only in homozygous condition wrinkled seeds are formed. So wrinkledness is nothing but a recessive character. Recessive character cannot express itself in heterozygous condition. Dominant character can express itself in both homozygous as well as heterozygous condition. I hope these concepts are clear to you now. Let us talk about monohybrid. Mono means single, hybrid means heterozygotes. We'll see with the help of an example, it will be clear. Suppose this is a parent 1. It is having the genotype capital T and the phenotype is tall. It is a tall plant. Another parent is a dwarf plant. The phenotype is dwarf and the genotype is small t. What will be the gametes formed? Gametes formed are capital T. Here the gametes formed are small t. In F1 generation, F1 means filial 1 generation, the plants produced are capital T, small t, hybrids. Capital T, small t, hybrids or heterozygotes. Capital T, small t, capital T, small t. And what will their phenotype be? All these 4 plants are tall plants, though they are heterozygotes. Such heterozygotes which are formed in F1 generation, phenotypically which are tall, genotypically which are hybrids, are termed as monohybrids because here they are representing a single character. If a plant is representing two characters, we will call it as dihybrid. If it is representing three hybrid characters, we will call it as trihybrid, and so on. So what is a monohybrid? Mono is single, hybrid is heterozygote form in F1 generation. I hope you followed this concept. F1 generation, filial one generation means offsprings produced in sexual reproduction. It is derived, this filial word is derived from a Latin word and the meaning of the word is son. Okay, and it shows uniform expression. All the F1 generation you just now saw in the previous slide, all of them, they were tall. So all monohybrids formed in the F1 generation, they are showing same type of characters. That is, all are, though they are hybrids, though they are heterozygous, all are phenotypically tall. So F1 generation, all will be uniform expression. Now let us discuss about some important terms that we are going to use in studying genetics. Parental generation will be represented by capital P or P1. The first filial generation is represented by F1. Second filial generation is represented by F2. Third filial generation is represented by F3. Dominant always is represented by capital alphabets. Capital T, small t. This is very, very, very important. The dominant are represented by capital alphabets. Recessive characters are represented by small alphabets, small t, recessive character, they are represented by recessive or small alphabet. And one more interesting thing here, the dominant character is tall, so we are using capital T, the recessive character is dwarf, though we are using it, representing it with smaller alphabet, we do not represent by small d, we represent small t, which is a recessive of the tallness. So this is very interesting. Do not get confused here. If tallness is capital T, dwarfness will be small t. It is not small d. Dominant characters are represented by capital alphabets. Recessive characters are represented by small alphabets, but they will be of the dominant wala alphabet, small alphabet. And the last one, the females are represented by this symbol, a circle and a plus. And the males are represented by a circle and an arrow. So these are all very, very important terms which we are going to use while studying Mendelism. Let us talk about Punnett square or checkerboard. It is a diagram. Punnett square, it is a diagram that is used to show possibilities of combinations in a particular cross or breeding experiment. All the mathematical conclusions are shown with the help of a chart or a board or a, what we can say, a table, and that is represented or shown by Punnett square. It is named after Reginald C. Punnett, who devised this approach. He has devised this way of representing the results. It is devised by breeders to know all possible genotypes and the phenotypes of offsprings produced in a crop. When we will be studying monohybrid cross, dihybrid cross or various other post-Mendelian crosses, every time we will be using Punnett square to show our possible genotypes and phenotypes produced in the offsprings. Now let us see our first cross, that is monohybrid cross. Listen students carefully, and I hope you are writing down along with me. It's very important, and here we will be revising all the definitions which we studied meanwhile. Monohybrid, so it is a cross between pure, see Mendel always selected pure plant, so pure plant, two plants, homozygous parents, both the parents are homozygous, in which inheritance pattern of only one pair of contrasting character is studied. When we are studying the inheritance of only one pair of contrasting character, we will call it as a monohybrid cross. If you are studying two pairs of contrasting characters, you will call it as a dihybrid cross, and so on. So let us see, it is a cross between two pure true breeding parents which are differing in single pair of contrasting characters. You will understand this when I will draw the chart. Step 1. What did Mendel do? Mendel selected pure line breeds. I told you, in his farm he had a small garden in his church, in his monastery, and he planted all Suppose on one side of the garden he planted all tall plants. On the other side he planted all dwarf plants. He saw that for 3 generations all the plants produced tall seeds. All the seeds were producing tall plants only. Even if one single dwarf came, he used to discard it. So very important, he selected pure line breeds. Okay. For example, tall pea plant as female and dwarf pea plant as male. First he took, say, all the tall pea plant, he treated them as female. You know how to treat a plant as a female? By emasculation. He literally removed the anthers with the help of forceps before they anthesized, before they developed. So he cut off, and now that female flower, it was treated as a female. And dwarf pea plant, he took the anthers, he allowed the pollen grains to develop, so he treated it as a male plant. He made sure that they are pure by breeding. Very, very, very important. For 3 generations, he saw that the plants produced are pure. Second, he performed artificial cross. He collected the seeds and sowed them again. So second step was artificial crossing, hybridization. Then he obtained F1 generations. He thought that in F1 generation, 50% will be tall and 50% will be dwarf. But he was shocked when he saw that the plants in the F1 generation were not 50-50, but all the plants, 100% plants were tall. So let us see what he did. So suppose he took this first parent. So we can write here P1 generation parent. What is the phenotype? Tall. What is the phenotype of the second parent? Dwarf. Genotype is capital T, capital for tall, and for dwarf it will be small t, small t. I have taken this chart from your textbook only so that you can practice. Gametes produced are capital T, small t. F1 generation. Genotype is capital T, small t. It is a monohybrid. Or the phenotype, the plant is tall. So all plants were tall. Then he allowed them to undergo selfing of F1 generation. What were the gametes formed? Capital T, small t, capital T, small t. So there were 2 gametes, capital T, small t. Some were treated as male gametes, some were female gametes. So what did he saw? He got 1 tall. We will write here tall plants. Kitna mila? First. Then the second was also tall. So we got 1 more tall. Third was also tall. So we got 1 more tall. And the fourth was small t, that is dwarf. So what was the phenotypic ratio? Phenotypically, physical appearance. How many tall? 3 tall. How many dwarf? 1. So the phenotypic ratio of monohybrid cross is 3:1. But let us look at the genotypic ratio. Capital T, how many are there? 1. Capital T, small t, how many are there? 1 and 2. And small t are 1. So what is the genotypic ratio? Genotypic ratio is 1:2:1. So I hope you followed monohybrid cross. So conclusion, he saw that F2 generation total plants produced were 1064, 787 were tall, 277 were dwarf. He thought this is because of female dominance. So he carried out a reciprocal cross. Now he treated one plant, tall plant as a male and dwarf plant as a female. He got similar results. And what was the result he got? He got that the phenotypic ratio is coming 3:1 and the genotypic ratio is coming 1:2:1. He carried out this experiment for all the 7 traits, and thus he concluded factor is the unit of heredity. Characters as height, seed, shape, color are inherited separately. Each factor has 2 alternative forms, tall dwarf, round wrinkled, which are alleles. One trait is dominant, other is recessive. If an organism inheritance of each character is controlled by a pair of factors, one comes from the male parent, other comes from the female parents. And finally, he concluded that phenotypic and genotypic ratio for monohybrid cross 3:1 phenotypic and 1:2:1 genotypic ratio. Yes, students. So you saw at the end of monohybrid cross, what was the conclusion? The phenotypic ratio is 3:1 and genotypic is 1:2:1. When F1 hybrids were formed, all were monohybrids. Then they segregated, separated, and in F2 generation, there was mixing. We will also discuss about more conclusion which Mendel did in our next lecture. So I hope you understood whatever I taught you today. Thank you.